fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Deluxe Class Terran Twitch from the Transformers Earthspark line from Hasbro. So I have not seen the show yet. Unfortunately, I don't have Paramount Plus. But I believe Twitch is one of two Autobots actually created on Earth, which is why she's designated as Terran. And then those two Autobots are bonded with the two human characters we see here. I believe Twitch is bonded with the girl, but I do not know that character's name, so I apologize. But yeah, standard plastic-free packaging here. We can see the little figure in the window right here. Nice artwork of the robot mode here on the front. And then we have the standard kind of Earthspark picture over here on the side. And then over here on the other side, we have the Build-A-Figure Dr. Meridian Mandroid. And it looks like with this one, we're going to get the head and chest. So we should be able to connect the two arms that we have from the other releases and have one pretty imposing torso, I guess. Spinning it around to the back, we have some product shots of the robot mode and the vehicle mode, which is a drone. And then you can see the breakdown again of the other Build-A-Figure pieces, which we've seen a few times now. And then up here we have some more Earthspark art for the cast, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, pretty standard packaging here. I'm going to go ahead, get her out of the packaging, and we'll take a closer look. So here's Twitch out of the packaging, and before we move into the figure, I just want to get these things out of the way real quick because I think they're dumb and I don't want to spend a lot of time on them. So I was wrong. I thought we were getting the whole torso. I thought the torso and the backpack were one solid piece. They're not. We just got the backpack and the head. Now, if we bring the box back in, you can see here that this thing is kind of pointing at this. I thought it was pointing at just the waist piece. I thought they would give us waist articulation, but I'm guessing they're not, and this is just one solid piece. But that also means that you're not going to be able to connect anything until the last release. And that's dumb. I don't really want just a pile of parts sitting around for almost a year, but apparently that's what's going to happen. So we have this little backpack piece. You have a little ball joint here for these little clampers. And then these pieces here, I guess tab in, probably so that you can like peg the figure in and then put these, I don't know. It's kind of annoying, honestly. They're pretty loose, and you can already see how mine's kind of bent. And then when you try to move anything with this, the whole piece just falls out. So there's a little backpack. And then here's the head. It's all right. I mean, the molding is good. He's got kind of a fun expression. Like, I like this expression for an angry guy, villain. He's got the nice painted goggles. He's got the mullet there. But what I don't understand is this joint here. So they give us a ball joint, and then they give us this hinge here, which just looks really weird to me. I guess it's to kind of, you know, continue the fact that he's a robot. So they put this giant, like, rod and gray piece here right below his chin. But it doesn't even really function. I mean, the way that is, because those joints, like, that piece is so, like, a hard square there. It's not rounded or anything. You can barely wiggle it back and forth. So, I don't know. These Build-A-Figure things are never really that successful. And the fact that I have to just continue to have a pile of pieces until that last release. I mean, hopefully I'll be able to find them all by the time that happens. But anyway, let's get through that stupid stuff. Let's take a look at Twitch. I think she looks pretty good. I think the design's kind of cool. I do like the head sculpt. It has kind of grown on me. It kind of gives me like an Astro Boy or even kind of like the Rocketeer's helmet. Like, it's a very kind of like 50s robot design with the little like fin out the back and the bigger eyes, which I think is kind of cool. And she does have some light piping, so you can see that this here will let the eyes glow. Really nice silver paint for the face, so I think that's kind of neat. This piece on mine, I don't know if it's supposed to lock in and mine's just a problem, or if it really just doesn't lock in, but this moves around way too much. I wish this kind of came down and snapped in place there, and it just doesn't on mine. So that's kind of a bummer. Also, because she's got these big, like, dragonfly wing things here on the back and the spinning turbines and all this kind of stuff, she's very back heavy. So it's kind of hard to get her to stand. But you can kind of use these almost as, like, you know, something to help her stand here in the back. Kind of just let one of those touch the ground. But otherwise, if you try to get her to stand on her own legs, it's not really happening unless you like really pitch her forward. The other thing that doesn't help is the knee is kind of loose on mine, which is a bummer. So could just be a QC thing. Also, some of the ball joints in the hips are kind of loose on mine. The thigh swivel here is kind of loose. Just a lot of the joints. It's funny, I haven't really had an issue with the others that I've taken a look at so far. but she just has a lot of kind of floppy joints, which is a shame. I mean, this won't really lock in. Floppy knee over here, floppy thigh swivel. It's just a shame. But overall, from the design point of view, I think she looks cool. I like the color scheme. She's got these turbo turbines. I'm sure this has another name that I just cannot think of right now. The fans, whatever you want to call them, up here. And these are on ball joints, so you can move these all around. If you like the look of this better, if you want to do something like this in robot mode, you certainly could. You know, you can have them out to the side like this so she can actually use them to hover around. With the wings here, if you want to kind of put them out to the side, or if you want to put them straight up, if you like the look of that, you have some options. Also, this piece here can kind of lift up. So let me move these back around. But if you wanted to kind of put these straight out and have her fly around like that, you could do that as well. So you have some options there with those wings on the back, which I appreciate. Some nice posing options since they're just on ball joints. Head's also on a ball joint, and she can look really far up because of the transformation. So if she's flying around, she could look straight forward. You can look down decently far, certainly look side to side, no problem. You can tilt a little bit side to side. You have a ball joint here in the shoulder. You can go pretty much all the way out to the side, rotate around. Obviously, you're going to hit into these eventually. You have a bicep swivel, which is on a mushroom peg, you can see there. And then you have a 90-degree hinge there in the elbow. Nothing in the wrist. The forearm and the hand is one solid piece. You do have a waist swivel. You have a ball joint in the hip. You have a thigh swivel there. And then you have, I would say, 90 degrees in the knee. And then for the ankle, you can do a lot of forward and back for the transformation. But you also have a ball joint there so that you can get ankle tilts. So she's got a lot of articulation. Honestly, I say she's probably one of the more articulated of the three. It's just she's a little back heavy, but you can kind of just cheat and use these to help her stand, which is what I just do. But aesthetically, she looks good. I mean, she's got a lot of nice paint applications. All of the paint down here around the legs. The silver here on the thighs. You have this kind of gray color here around the wrists. All of the paint here in the torso section. The head is really nicely painted. So, I mean, aesthetically, I think she looks really good. And if you can just use one of those to cheat to help her stand, then you can put her in some nice poses. She has one weapon, which is very similar to Bumblebee's, where it's just this kind of like long rectangular blaster thing that she's supposed to peg into the hand here so that it looks like her arm has transformed into the blaster. And that's fine. Got some nice paint applications on here as well with the orange and the gray. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out of there. So let's see how she stacks up with some of the others. We'll bring in Bumblebee and Megatron. You can see that they're all roughly the same size. And then even Warrior Class Prime. And why not? Let's do all the ones we have so far. Here's Elita 1 as well. It's just right over top of Bumblebee's face. I guess maybe I should try to fit them all in frame here together so that no one's fully... Well, now Megatron can't be seen. I don't know what to do, guys. There's only so much room in the frame. But I think it's neat. They all scale pretty well together. I think they look pretty good. Alright, so transformation isn't too difficult. We're going to start by taking the head and just pushing it all the way back on that ball joint, which is why she has that amount of articulation there. And then we're going to lift this section up. Now, I kind of wish that this would come up and kind of click into place somewhere. It doesn't really. And the way it kind of comes up, you know, I'm pushing it up, waiting for it to do something, but like the tolerances feel weird. Like you can see how it kind of droops. There'll be other connections later on that kind of keep it in place, but for now, it's just going to kind of hang up there. We're going to take this little piece here in the torso and flip it down. Then we're going to take the arms at the bicep and rotate them 90 degrees inward. And you can see here that there are these little tabs right there, and they're going to come in and sit in these little spots right here and here. So we're going to utilize this hinge. We're going to bring this in, and then that's going to kind of, it doesn't necessarily click into place, but it kind of like just perfectly rests in that channel, and it does hold it pretty well. So we're going to do the same thing over here. So those will sit like that. And then you're going to flip down the drone feet. And you can see that there's like a tab here that kind of just like sandwiches in between there just to kind of keep it Doesn't really peg in or anything, but it kind of just keeps it from rattling around too much, which is nice. So they're going to hang there for now. We're going to come around to the back and just kind of get these out of the way as much as possible. We're going to come down to the legs, and we have to rotate at the thigh swivel inward, which is no problem on this side, but on mine on this side, it usually just pops the ball joint off. It's just really stiff over here. So what I have to do is kind of rotate it manually, and then I can pop it back on. And then you're going to push this piece through the leg, and then take the ankle and rotate it all the way forward. So you can see here that there is a hinge. There's a hinge right there, and then there's a ball joint right there. You want to bring the hinge all the way forward, and then put the toe all the way down. So bring that forward and down, push this piece through, and then you're going to bring this around, and this little tab spot right there is going to tab on right there, while at the same time, this tab is going to pop into this section here, and that's what's going to kind of keep this where it's supposed to be. So kind of bring this in, and get all this stuff to line up. And then also, this tab here is going to tab in to the top of the arms. You can kind of see on this one. So it's a lot of like moving everything around and getting it to all go where it's supposed to go. And it can be a little tricky, and sometimes this doesn't want to like fit in the leg as much as it's supposed to. It might just be because you've accidentally pushed that in, so just be careful with that. So this needs to pop on to here, and then this needs to go in there, and then the hand needs to peg on there. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one. And it can be a little tricky, but honestly, when you're done, it does make it pretty secure. It's just sometimes kind of a pain to get everything to line up and do what it's supposed to do. So there we go. Then the last step is to just fold these in, and they're supposed to tab into each other. And then they kind of come down, and you can see the notches in there that they're supposed to drop into. I don't know why, but these on mine don't really want to stay together all that well. But they just kind of have to rest there, so it's not that big of a deal. And there you go. There is the drone mode. So it's okay. I mean, I still think a drone is a strange choice for an alt mode for like one of our full-size characters. Honestly, if this was something like Laserbeak, I think it would be fine. And honestly, it kind of gives me Laserbeak vibes with the way that the turbines kind of have these like wings off the back, and it has kind of like little feet down here, and the way the eye is. I don't know why. It's definitely giving me like Laserbeak vibes. If this was Laserbeak, I feel like it would make more sense to me. But otherwise, I just think it's kind of weird to have, you know, like one of the core Autobot team members be a drone. I don't know. It just kind of feels diminishing in a way. I don't know why, but it's an okay little alt mode. I really wish these pieces pegged together better. But it's kind of nice. You can kind of use them almost as like a wand to kind of fly it around, which is kind of nice. Once you get everything like pegged in where it's supposed to, it is pretty secure. These connections keep this up where it's supposed to be. Connecting the hands to the legs secures them. And I was looking in the directions. These two connections for the feet are definitely there, but I don't think the directions say anything about pegging the forearms underneath the feet. You're definitely supposed to, and it holds them in place pretty nice, but definitely wasn't in the directions. The other thing you can do is you can see there's a little notch right there, so you can bring this in, and there's a tab, and so you can just pop this in here. You might have to sandwich it in a little bit, but then you can mount the weapon underneath. And I think that looks pretty cool because it kind of fills out this area a little bit nicer. So I kind of like that. So it's okay. I mean, it's nice that like the little turbines spin. I think that's kind of cool. I really just wish this held together. I don't know why these don't seem to want to really peg into each other, but overall, it's an interesting alt mode. I just think it's a weird choice for like one of the core Autobot team members, but it looks all right. I think the paint applications are good. I think the color scheme for it is pretty cool. Just, it feels more like Laserbeak to me than just like one of our, you know, full-time Autobot members. I think Twitch is alright. I mean, the figure's not perfect, but it does have some fun points to it. From a design perspective, I think it's kind of neat. I didn't really like the turbines kind of hanging out here to the side at first, but that's grown on me. The head sculpt design has really grown on me. It definitely gives me kind of like a 50s era robots or like an Astro Boy or kind of like the Rocketeer's helmet kind of vibe to it, which I think is kind of fun. I love the color scheme. I think it's got a lot of nice paint applications, but it's definitely not a perfect figure. At least my copy has some really loose joints. Like I said, the one knee is really loose. This thigh swivel's too loose. This one's too tight, which is kind of funny. I don't, like I said, the term floppy mess seems too mean. I don't really think it's that bad, but it definitely does feel at times like you're trying to move something and something else moves, or it just doesn't feel super cohesive. It's a little top heavy as well, and you kind of have to cheat by using these things on the back to help it stand up, at least for me, and it might be because of the loose joints that I have. I can't really get her to stand well on her own without using that extra thing as like a third leg. The alt mode's a little weird to me. Like I said, a drone for one of the main Autobots on the team seems like a weird choice. Definitely gives me more of a Laserbeak vibe. It's a simple transformation, but it's also difficult, and I know that doesn't really make sense. When I say it's a simple transformation, I mean that there's not really much to it. It's kind of just fold the chest piece up, fold the arms in, fold the legs around the side. But getting all those tabs to line up and lock into place is kind of challenging. Once you do it a couple times, it gets easier. And once you can finally get everything locked in, it is very secure. Because at first, the directions don't even tell you about pegging the arms into the legs as the last step. And so I was trying to move things around, and I felt like every time I would move something, something else would pop off, and it was driving me nuts. And then I realized, oh, all these things have to, like, you know, go in an order in a sequence, and then once it's all together and it holds together fairly well. But the directions definitely do not mention tabbing the forearms into the feet, and that's kind of a big deal. I think that really helps it hold together. I also wish this chest piece would actually like snap in the robot mode. It's very loose and it doesn't really hold in place, which is kind of a bummer. So, like I said, is she terrible? No. Is she perfect? No. If you're just looking for a fun little figure, I think it's all right. Again, I do like the color scheme and the design, and I think that's kind of fun. It just feels like the deluxe class for the like ongoing cartoon this year, they definitely feel cheaper than they used to. I feel like Cyberverse, they were still pretty solid plastic. Everything really clicked in the way it was supposed to. And some of them are better than others. Like, I think Bumblebee's probably one of the better ones from this first wave in terms of everything really connecting and pegging in where it's supposed to and being cohesive. And Megatron's not bad either. But it just, like, the plastic quality feels a little bit cheaper. Not a deal breaker necessarily, but it just feels a little bit softer and cheaper. And I feel like, yes, these are cheaper than, like, a Legacy or a Studio Series Deluxe, but not by a ton. And it feels like the quality levels are very different. So, like, the Warrior class and this are not super different in terms of quality and, like, the strength of the plastic and the transformations, but there's a $5 gap there. And then when you go from, like, this to, like, a Studio Series, which I guess they're kind of 23, but they're trending towards 25 now, so I guess it's another $5 difference. But it's kind of funny because from Warrior to this Deluxe doesn't feel that different. From this to, like, a Studio Series Deluxe feels very different. I mean, she has so much hollowness here to the legs, and, you know, the plastic just feels a little cheaper. And then you get like a Legacy or Studio Series Deluxe, and they still feel very solid and worth it. So, I don't know. I'm kind of in an area where it's like, I think there's fun to be had with these. I think they look fun. I think they're decent. But I feel like this should be 15 and the Studio, or maybe 17, somewhere in there. And then, you know, Studio Series Deluxe is 23, 25. That's fairly reasonable to me. These at 20 is not a problem, but that's the upper bound. I feel like if you try to ask for any more than 20 for these, no. Because for a while they were on Hasbro's website at 25, and I did not buy them. Because I'm like, that doesn't seem right. And then they relisted them and adjusted to 20, and I was like, okay, now you're more in the ballpark. But I think 20 is definitely the upper bound for these, because they just feel a little cheap. I think they're still fun to be had with them. Like I said, I don't hate them. I don't think they're terrible figures. I think you just need to set your expectations before picking them up, because they are not Studio Series or Legacy quality deluxes. They're just not. They're still okay, but you just have to judge your expectation. I also think they waste some of the budget on this stuff, and they shouldn't, because that's a waste, and I don't care about that stuff at all. And look, if you love the Build-A-Figure, more power to you. Please enjoy it, but from what I've seen of those pieces so far, they seem really cheap, and I don't think I'm going to end up enjoying that very much at all, but who knows? Maybe when they have the whole final thing, it'll be great. I'll try to keep an open mind. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, if you think I'm being too hard on these guys, or if you think I'm kind of in the ballpark of how they feel. They're not bad, they're just not perfect. I'm not super excited about them. I'm not wildly disappointed. They're very just middle of the road for me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.